here live right now from this incredible turn of events. It seems an outbreak of some sort is happening. While we have heard rumors of a virus apocalypse or vast zombies that would attack. And this is something entirely different, folks. People are literally transforming before our eyes into something new. Infected with what they're referring to as the Holy Spirit.
There's a virus that's been passed to the masses, growing contagious so that millions now have it. It's a disease without a cure or a serum, and there's no need for a vaccine or injection. There's no inoculation, I hope you all get it. That you spread it to your loved ones and friends. Get sick with it and give it to the kids who share it with their friends, and bring it home to mom and dad and on again. It's a plague that can save you from sin and deception. I pray it invades and reshapes your vision. I play with these antonyms followed by synonyms. Speak parables and awaken those listening. Wage spirit battles in the hearts of all doubters. Gathering scenes shouting louder and louder. Reaching out, branching to all populations and planting the truth to cause transformation. What you're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk. You're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk.
Used to call me Black Plague, but all I ever do was spread truth and not death. Put knowledge in their heads, try to suppress me. With medicine called the media, change up the history books. Wikipedia lies, they be feeding you, be making you sick. True serum is the only real fix, and I'ma spread it all around like ticks. Spread the Lyme disease, contagious like germs every time that you sneeze. In the air that you breathe, infiltrating your lung. Have the truth rolling off your tongue. This war has just begun. Won't stop till the battle is won. Light of the world just like the sun. I'm a virus infecting the minds of the lost. Wake them up to the truth at all costs. Gonna spread all over the planet. Cannot be silenced. Antichrist is the ultimate violent tyrant.
What you're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk. You're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk.
Let's critically think about the world that we live in. From the beginning, we've been lied to and tricked into sinning. The devil really thinks that he's winning. People bend morals and values to fit in. A truth that's on the spread all over the land. Been derailed by the God of this world. From the plan, let the truth be told. It's time we take a stand. Spoon-fed lies from the media's hands. But you're soon gonna find for real. Like it or not, can't see anything in your views. A blind spot you forgot while you sit on the side. The world rots. This song is like smoking on medicinal pot. It's a cure for I don't wanna know syndrome. You don't care about drones flying over your home. FEMA got America split up in 10 zones. Ignorant to the truth that the Bible's shown.
What you're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk. You're hearing is contagious. We got a sickness whose symptoms include a relentless pursuit of the truth. This infection is infectious. We warn you now, you're listening at your own risk.
The symptoms include an overwhelming sense of peace and joy in pursuing truth. It's spreading worldwide, folks, like a virus for what they're calling the gospel message of Jesus Christ. This is an amazing scene now, with people running through the streets, hugging, praying with one another, and praising God's name. This is just overwhelming to see this. This is unbelievable. Wow.
Whoa. This is All Out War. That's Destiny Lab, in case you didn't know. What's up, Rosie? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, Rach? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing good. Doing real good. We have a great episode today for the podcast. I think you guys are going to really like it. It's a great interview with our buddy Ark. But before we get into that, Rosie, what do you know?
Hey, I got two.
Two? All right.
Two things that I know. One, you know what? Let me do the other. I'm trying to think which one I'll do first. Whatever. Here, I'll say this.
Okay.
Did you know, do you think you know who invented the burger?
The burger?
Yeah.
Well, I thought the burger came from Germany. I thought it,
you might think that, right?
I thought that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Hamburg, Germany, right? The hamburger?
Yeah. Frankfurter
for the hot dog, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. It was actually Kim Jong-il. in 2000.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I'm so sorry.
In North Korea, he came up with it.
I always forget how great that man is.
Yeah. So he claimed that he in 2000, Kim Jong-il of North Korea came up with the idea to serve a, quote, double bread with meat to his top students, professors, and special researchers in Pyongyang. The revered leader went on to create a special factory to mass produce his new invention and has since made the prized meal available to most of his people.
The meat with double bread.
Double bread with meat, yeah.
That's so revolutionary. The fact that you would put bread on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Genius.
Yeah.
He's really overlooked. He's a savant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And speaking of savants, and closer to what the guest is.
Okay. Yeah.
About, I don't want to ruin anything. But our buddy, who is also hip hop artist, Kanye West.
Yeah.
Got busted torrenting music software.
Oh, this is
funny. A couple of years ago, yeah. So he posted a screenshot on. This is really funny.
No.
Yeah, so he posted some screenshot of like his computer.
He's on like LimeWire or something.
Yeah, he had like a tab open to the Pirate Bay.
No.
And he was found downloading this music software to produce music called Serum.
Oh, wow.
That's the software thing.
So he basically downloaded an illegal software they didn't pay for.
Yeah.
The guy's a billionaire. You could buy the whole suite for.
You could probably buy well, I don't know back then. He probably didn't, because he didn't have any money. He was broke, but
he went broke for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, so that's funny. But you know what? I'll tell you what. Our guest. I don't think he got caught.
Yeah.
Being a millionaire and stealing.
Probably not.
A couple $100 software.
I don't think he's that type of guy.
No.
Oh man, we're off to a great year. I wanted to do a podcast, a little bit different podcast. I reached out to our guests that we're going to have on the show today, and a while ago, but it's good because things have been so crazy and hectic, and with the inaugurations and the presidential and all the Capitol. I have some really crazy stories. If you guys follow us on Instagram, I've been doing some Instagram lives like once a week or so from my truck. It's truck time with Turner. And usually I'm driving, but I couldn't even get to my job up on Capitol Hill because they had expanded the bubble of protection around the Capitol. Many blocks. We're talking, and it was military block. At first, it was like just a Metro PD guy, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta go to my job. I'm working," and he's like, "All right, go ahead." He let me drive through. Then like a couple days later, it was like a Humvee with a dude with like M4, standing there, and he's like, "You're not getting through." And I was like, "I have a job." He said, I don't care. You're not getting through." And I was like, "You're not wearing a mask." No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that because I wasn't wearing one. So, anyways, we have a great guest, and we have we played a song already. We're going to have another song at the end of the episode for you to check out off of Shift Your Paradigm, which is their album, Destiny Lab. Our great guest is Ark, and I'm going to introduce him and have the interview on the other side of this. So sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Out War. We have a wonderful guest with us on the podcast, and I'm excited about this one. It's a little different for us this time. We've done a podcast or so with some music involved with like my daughter Maggie and some other people, but this one's like really cool. Mm-hmm. I was watching the latest Faust Brothers documentary on the Masonic influence on just probably a couple weeks ago, and at the end of the documentary, there was this song playing, and it was so good and so catchy. I was like, "What? Who is that?" So I had to look it up. I finally found it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is great!" And then I just started consuming the music. The band was called Destiny Lab, and we have with us on the podcast Ark. Ark, the founder, the singer of Destiny Lab. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, we have a free a gift of a song for you guys at the end of the podcast. You can if you got to stick around, listen to the whole interview, and at the end we'll play one of his songs. And but Ark, tell us a little bit about how you got into where you are, and kind of like from the beginning, because most people don't know, may not have heard of you, but most people don't know how you ended up where you are today and what you're doing.
Okay, yeah. It's a bit of a story here, so you have to bear with me. Just interrupt me if you need to. But so basically, I make music about all the strange subjects of the paranormal, the fallen angels and the Nephilim, aliens, secret society, all this New World Order, all these different types of subjects. And I grew up in a Christian home. And I was always into the paranormal and weird stuff. Mm-hmm. And my parents in their house had this Freemason regalia because my mom inherited it from her grandfather, because she had a bunch of Freemasons on her side. So I had all this kind of weird Freemason stuff. So I was like, always saw these symbols and wondered about that. And then I at an early age, like about 12 or 13, we lived out in the country, and my brother and I discovered a satanic ritual site where these actual animals have been sacrificed and an altar set up, and we had to call the police, and it just really freaked us all out. But it also made me realize, wow, there's like evil out there that's real, real Satanists that really like sacrifice animals. And it happens in like small little towns where I'm from. This is like creepy and out of this world, and so it just kind of was weird, and I was into, so I grew up with, Star Wars and break dancing when it first came out. So I got big into break dancing, big into following rap music, but I never necessarily wanted to be a rapper. I just kind of liked rap music and always did it for fun. Like would memorize songs with my friends and rap. So I knew I could rap, but never intended to be a rapper. I don't necessarily like performing or being the center of attention or on stage or anything like that, but I knew how to rap, and I knew I was also into the paranormal. And then I got into special effects makeup about around the age of 15. So I taught myself how to make masks and prosthetics and all that kind of stuff, and making monsters. And I got deep into aliens, and I wanted to make the most realistic alien you could possibly imagine. So I was making, I actually made sculptures for MUFON, MUFON busts of aliens, and
wow.
And I moved to Hollywood at the age of 18, and to work as a special effects makeup artist. And the first movie I ever worked on was The Lawnmower Man. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie, but it's all about transhumanism and alchemy and using alchemical symbols to turn a human into a superhuman, and like basically transhumanism. And so all these things were jumbled in my mind, all these things I experienced. And when I went to Hollywood as well, I got kind of off on the prodigal son journey. Even though I was raised a Christian, I kind of wandered from that for a few years, and I got into going to Grateful Dead concerts, taking a lot of psychedelics, going to rainbow gatherings, these types of things. And at these different events, that filled in another gap of like what the new age and the occult kind of is, and so all these things were kind of coming together. But then I got deep into studying abductions, because like I said, wanted to create the most realistic aliens. And I thought, well, where else am I going to get the best description but from people who are actually abducted by aliens, right? So I was studying every abduction experience as I could, and trying to find the universal overlaps of how they were describing what these aliens look like. And it was pretty incredible because I started seeing all these overlaps of things that remind me back to my Christian upbringing. And one of them being, this whole idea of evolution, that we're evolving to this higher ascended beings. What they would always tell people that, basically that you're a god, that human beings are gods and that we're all gods and that all we need to do is look within and forget Jesus and the Savior and all that kind of stuff. We are God. And then I thought, where have I heard this before? Oh, the original sin of the serpent, when he told Eve, if you eat of this fruit, ye shall be as gods, And this was also the story of Lucifer. Why was Lucifer tossed out of heaven? Because he wanted to be like God. And that got me deep into studying back into the religious aspect of these things. And I started to recognize that this stuff was demonic, because literally their main focus of these alien beings or people who were channeling these entities was basically always one of their main things they wanted to tell people is Jesus wasn't real. Christianity is false. Don't trust the Bible. Jesus was just another avatar like Krishna, Buddha, and all you need to do is look within and you're a god. I mean, basically it's the same old story over and over and over again, but they could never make up their minds as to where they were from or what they looked like. It was always a different disguise. Some of them were mantises, some of them were Nordics, some of them were alien grays, some were reptilian, but they all seem to have this theosophical Luciferian agenda at their root cause. And then I found out about sleep paralysis and the abduction experiences and the people that were getting cured from sleep paralysis from the work of Joe Jordan, the CE4 research group, and others like that were showing that there were hundreds and hundreds of people that were suffering from abduction experiences for decades that in the end recognized that this was demonic, rebuked these things in the name and authority of Jesus, and it stopped, never to return again. It was a cure for people that had suffered for decades. And this is not just one person, it's hundreds and hundreds of people that this have told this experience. And so all these things kind of, convicted me in a way to say, I need to expose this stuff in some way, and I thought, and I discovered there was a genre called Christian hip hop in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And I started looking into that, but I couldn't find anybody really talking about this kind of stuff. So I felt convicted to start doing it. So I started doing it with a friend, officially started making music in the mid 90s and officially formed Destiny Lab in 2004, exposing all these things. And that's the long answer. Sorry for rambling.
No.
No, that's awesome,
great,
man. Yeah. So you mentioned when you mentioned Christian hip hop, that's funny. Christian music for me has always been like a weird subject. I support it. I'm glad it's there, but I was always left kind of wanting something a little deeper. Yeah.
Mainstream hip hop and mainstream Christian music is, I haven't found, I haven't connected with as much, but there are some underground people that are really talented that I really respect and like to listen to. So
yeah. So when did you start the band? How long have you guys been the group? Yeah, sorry.
Well, we started making music, myself and Genetics, which is my the guy who makes my beats. We started making music together in 1992, believe it or not. Wow. And we met in Portland, just at a party randomly, and he was beatboxing in the back room. I came back and started rapping. The rest is history.
That's such a story there. That's that sounds so perfect.
It's true though. It's true, and it's all kind of destiny. I mean, that's why we named this the group Destiny Lab, because all of these things that came together wasn't by our choice or our want or desire. It was literally destined to be. It's crazy. And so we started making music in the early 90s, but we officially formed Destiny Lab in 2004. So we took a break there for a while and then got back together.
Yeah. So I can imagine that this past year for you has just been amazing in terms of content to write about.
Oh yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I was supposed to have this new album out like almost 2 years ago, the Shift Your Paradigm album, and one thing after another kept coming into place to stop us from getting it out. And I kept wondering, why is this, God? What are we waiting for here? And then 2020 came along, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why. We had to wait until all this started unfolding. So, yeah, it allowed me to add a couple extra tracks in there that were a little more up to date about like the whole mask thing. I got a couple songs like Revelation, Unraveling, and The Sky is Falling. They're pretty relevant to our times.
Yeah, I like The Sky is Falling. So when you started to perform, I know you said you don't like to perform out and everything like that, but when you started to like really put your music out there, how was it received from like the mainstream Christian audience?
Well, when I first started, I was all about, you're supposed to get signed, right? You got to find a record label and you get signed, and that's what you do, And so we spent several years just making music, but not necessarily creating any CDs or put anything out there. We're just making music and then trying to find somebody to sign us. And, but we couldn't find anybody. And matter of fact, I look back on it and think I'm crazy for even trying, because that's the last thing that the Christian music industry would ever let out, especially the mainstream Christian music industry, is the things that we were talking about. So at some point I realized, I've got to do this independently. So I think it was in 2010 is when we put our first CD out, and it was actually a double CD. The first two CDs came out at the same time, and they had 17 songs on each CD. So we had a backup of a lot of tracks that we'd been making that just been sitting on, and then but a lot of those tracks were made like in the early 2000s.
Man, yeah, because I was trying to like there's a couple guys I listen to that are more mainstream into Christian, like NF, and he sings more about like mental health and his struggles in real life, but I like his style, you know what I mean? But the content, if you're not, like for me, I'm not normal by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't struggle with necessarily depression right now or anything major in that sense. So the songs, they're meaningful to me, but not in the same way. When I listened to what you were singing about, and I'm trying to remember the name of the song that was at the end of that Faust Brothers documentary.
Higher Entities.
Yes, that's it. Yes. And it just like, it was just ringing true. Like everything that because for me, it's just some of this stuff, within the last 2 years, I've just been kind of really being exposed to in a new way. And, this is coming from a guy who was a pastor for, vocationally for 16 years. So you got to understand some of the deprogramming that had to happen in my own personal life to be able to, so what you were singing about was just hitting home big time for me. And I was just like, I remember I messaged Rosie. I was like, dude, you got to check these guys out. And he's like, where'd you find that? So
nice. Yeah. We've been blessed to work with the Fall Brothers. We worked on the Higher Entities, and then they had another documentary to put out called The Hollow Earth Chronicles. Like a song about the Hollow Earth as well. And then a lot of people have heard of us on Gon Shimura's Age of Deceit documentaries, which we're on as well.
Oh, is that the guy from Canary Cry?
Yeah.
Age of Deceit? Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. Cool. So, what do you think let's talk a little bit about like what's going on right now in the world. And I just am curious about your thoughts. You obviously think through some of these things when you're writing your music, but what are we headed towards, man? Like, Do you think this vaccine is like moving towards the mark, or what's your thoughts on some of that kind of stuff?
Well, I don't think the vaccine is the mark of the beast, but I think it's training wheels towards it. All this stuff is programming always, and it seems that this program is not necessarily ran by mankind. I don't think, that's I think the mistake a lot of people think. Truth movement. They say, it's the Illuminati, it's the elite, all these people behind the scenes, and that's true to some extent, but not to the extent that of what's happening. This is supernatural. What we're dealing with. We're dealing with is supernatural spiritual warfare. Ephesians 6:11, 6:12, we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And that's what we're seeing right now. And I think when Trump got elected, and I've never been deep into politics. I've never really rapped that much about politics. But when Trump got elected, something kind of a switch flipped. And you saw it from these people running through the streets, wild-eyed, foaming at the mouth, literally, hitting people over the head with, anything they get their hands on, and breaking windows and setting, cities on fire. And you're just wondering. And then when you go up, what are you so mad about? What are you guys here for? They can't even answer. They'll blow a whip, just scream. Yeah, it's like, what is going on here? Something different just happened. And you see a supernatural flip where thousands, if not millions of people, I believe, are being possessed and or demonically oppressed on a mass level is what we're seeing. And they don't even know it necessarily, but I think that, the demonic realm works through invitation. A lot of these people have opened themselves up through invitation of working with, all these things like the new age type things and The Secret and yoga and all these things that they've transcendental meditation that have just become all cool, taking ayahuasca, DMT, all these things. These are all gateways and portholes that people are really into, that they think is really cool right now. And little they know what they're inviting in.
Yeah, because if the Holy Spirit isn't indwelling you, then something else will be. So if you're opening up your heart and you're opening up your spirit essentially to be, who knows what you're binding to, then you're going to open yourself up to potential possession. And I don't think people realize the power in that, and that you don't have a sound mind if you're not living with the Holy Spirit dwelling in you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's different levels. I think some people are straight up possessed. Other people are just kind of oppressed and they're depressed. Like you were saying, with mental problems, people that are just, in a funk, people that just are angry or upset or mad or can't find, any happiness in life and feel suicidal or need to take, be on some sort of drug or some sort of something they need to take in to change their head space all the time. All these things are of ways of inviting these familiar spirits. And that's the Bible calls them, as familiar spirits. And I think people get convinced because they go to a seance or talk to a Ouija board or a psychic that tells them, oh, I'm talking to your grandma or your dead son or whatever. And they'll know details. And they're like, oh, it's got to be real. They know details of, where grandma, but these things are ancient demonic entities. They've been around for a while, and that's why they're called familiar spirits, because they're familiar to you and your life. They're familiar to your belief system, and they change their disguise and their costume based on your beliefs. Back to the alien thing and the fallen angels and the Nephilim, this is so important to understand, because you look throughout time and you look at the people that used to believe in fairies and gnomes and these things, you think, people really didn't believe in that. Well, yes, they did. There were people that believed in that, just like people believe in aliens of today, and people were being abducted by these things. They were being created, these hybrid babies that were called changelings, that were half human, half elf creature, and then they would have to, know the name. It's, going back to some of the stories, like Rumpelstiltskin, this little gnome creature that came and promised this woman, all this, gold that he could spend for her. And the only thing he would ask in return is a firstborn child, unless she knew her name. All these things are kind of like demonically influenced or influenced through some sort of cultural demonic interaction or channeled interaction or witchcraft interaction. And if you go back and you look at the book of Enoch, it tells us the fallen angels brought these things. Semyaza brought the cutting of roots and pharmakia, which is specifically witchcraft and drugs. They're one and the same. They work together, and this is why these things are so mainstream. We're seeing this stuff externalized now to the point where every kid out there is wearing like a Masonic symbol on their shirt or some sort of occult. Or you go to the bookstores in the book aisle on Walmart, every book's on ghosts, goblins, vampires, demons, everything dark, evil, and occultic. The good has become bad and the bad has become good, and we're seeing it right in front of us. I mean, these things are unfolding, and I think in a way it's almost kind of God's grace, because he's allowing people to see, hey, guys, yes, there is evil, there is good. Pick which side. Whom will you serve? You can't straddle the fence. You can't pick both sides. You can't serve two masters. You need to pick who you serve, and I'm going to make it that more obvious so you people will choose. And that's what's happening right now, and that's where our music has become so much more externalized than back in the late 90s, early 2000s. People thought we were crazy, some of the stuff we were talking about. And now I got all these people contacting me back like, man, what's going on? This stuff's really happening. So it is. We're seeing the season. No one knows the time or the date, but we can recognize the season. And that's what we're seeing.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rach.
Sorry, Turner, what were you going to say?
No.
I was just going to say, today I was listening to several different musicians, one of them being Bob Dylan and another one being, what's her name? Nicki Minaj. And they were talking about like
that's
spirit.
a change.
It was a kind of a montage of musicians who have openly opened themselves up to either the devil or a spirit. And so they're like saying what gives them their power, their influence, or the way that they write music. And so they're opening themselves up to that as part of their creating process. But obviously, like, the Holy Spirit is not in them. And so what you were saying, though, about like the systems that someone can be, buying into, either not knowing or knowing that they're buying into it, and then other people being outside of it and being just like, what is going on? I'm so glad that the music that you're writing is opening up people's eyes to what's actually going on, because the world has so much just dark music that's putting out so much demonic stuff. And when you read the lyrics, they're like, talking about like mental issues that sound an awful lot like possession, or just like all of these terrible desires and people just totally living in the flesh. And that's going to be what the two systems are. You're either going to be part of God's kingdom and you're going to have his mark on your forehead, or you're going to be part of the beast system and you're going to do whatever it takes to stay in the beast system. So I think you will know when something is going to make you cross that line. And I think that as a believer, you have to be really careful, because even some of the elect are going to be deceived. But if you're in the Word, you'll be able to know what's not of God. So I think that there are people who are slowly waking up to, okay, is this decision that I have to make for my livelihood, aka the COVID vax, is that going to be like, is it a slippery slope? Is it something that, goes against my faith because it's suddenly in the limelight? So I'm glad that more people are waking up to it, and I don't believe that it might be the actual mark, but now everyone is programmed we just got to do what it takes to get to the new normal, whatever it is. And that's been programmed with, IDs of all kinds and digitized money of all kinds. And so it's just going to make everything so much more easy. And if you're not buying into that system, all of a sudden you are, you're like evil, you're anti-science, you're anti-society, you don't. And so just to see when you start asking questions, the kind of vitriol you get, really makes you stop and think. So I'm with
Yeah.
you on that.
No doubt. No doubt. Thank you.
I feel like, there was when, as cliche as this sounds, but when Epstein died, that's air quotes, when he died, I feel like that opened up many conversations that people weren't willing to have, before, or weren't even exposed to. And it opened up so many opportunities to bring in, like, well, he was, so then they're like, well, he had these pedophile, he was, child human trafficking. Well, why kids? Why would they do this with kids? And then, oh, well, I'm kind of glad you asked. And then, and then you start to unpack that for them. And I can remember, even in my own mind, when I was trying to wrap my head around it, like, why in the world? And then you just remember that the world belongs to Satan. This is his domain. We're pilgrims passing through. This isn't our home, right? So our kingdom's not of this world. So we're just, in enemy territory and advancing God's kingdom here as much as we can. Why wouldn't he do that if this is truly his domain? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't he kill babies and do all of the evil that we see perpetrating that's been hidden for so long?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we look back in time, and there's entire civilizations based on human sacrifice, and openly sacrificing babies and pulling hearts out of living people. I mean, this wasn't happening that long ago, and it's still happening today, and it happens for reasons because people get power from it, demons get power from it, and to an extent, it works. And these people want that power, and they want all these things they get from it. And they're going to pay a price, but they don't care because they're getting what they want now. And that's what type of individuals we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I think it's Deuteronomy or Leviticus talks about there's power in the blood, or the life of the life is held in the blood. And so there's, if the word of God is mentioning this, then that the demonic forces are clearly understand that, so it's easy to, well, when you hide it behind a building and put Planned Parenthood on the front of it, it's you can get away with it a lot easier, and then call it,
well, all you got to do is call it something nice and rosy and put pink flyers out. All you got to do, though, is going back to the demonic frothing at the mouth, wild-eyed demonic, is look at people who are pro abortion, or talk about or even the thought of abortion being taken away from them. Looking at their reaction, it's literally demonic, because these beings are getting power from this, and they're basically talking through these possessed women and these possessed people that they're going through, and they're freaking out. And they don't know why. I mean, why would you be so into something like abortion, of all things, that you would just be freaking out if you couldn't get that? It's like, my goodness, it's like, look a little deeper here, and let's look at like I said, culturally, let's go back throughout time, and let's look and be honest with ourselves at all these societies that have done this throughout time. Are we that, we just evolved past that now? I mean,
right.
I mean, it was cultural programming back then too, because it's what you did. You had to sacrifice to the god of, fertility, or a harvest, or like, it was just what you did. It's what there was probably huge pressure to do that, and the whole culture was built up around it. So now that I see in America, like, it's Christianity is such a small part of it, and now they're even more I think marginalized because of their stance on abortion, especially. But people are seeing it as, because of propaganda, because of programming, people are seeing it as so like anti-women, and that really gets into, like, the programming is very, very strong. So it's a huge cultural influence, even though the word sacrifice might not be on there. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if they were openly sacrificing babies in the open in a Moloch altar, the uproar that would happen. I've got a song called who's to decide? And it kind of compares that story. If a tree falls to the ground and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? And it compares that to abortion. These babies, nobody hears these babies cry, and so it seems like it's not even happening, but it is happening. And if we could only see that, if we can only, if people could realize how many babies are being murdered each day, it would convict people to stop this murder.
Yeah, man. And that's why those images are so powerful when you see people standing in front of the clinics with the photograph of an infant that's been torn, limb to limb, and just horrifying.
Horrific.
But yeah. So I want to move on to a little bit. Well, it's still a dark subject, but it's a little bit less than baby murders. You mentioned the alien thing, and that was for part of your story. I see moving forward right now just a huge. So in the news, literally, they've talked about it. They disclosed alien. This soft disclosure was happening during the Obama administration, and then now, evidently, right before Trump went out, they had like some hard disclosure, basically, of alien forces, some kind of. They're so vague, but they call it hard disclosure. But it seems like, because I know you stand where we do, Ark, and that's basically, we know this is an alien. This alien is a demonic force. That Colossians 1's pretty clear. Jesus has made the everything visible and invisible. So it's all under him, and so he made it pretty clear what exists. And so I put that in the camp of demonic, presence being just exposed, but what it is it feels like the whole world's getting set up for some big reveal that's going to happen to cause a mass deception, Yeah,
they've been, programming us for, decades here, and it's kind of escalating and growing exponentially, moving exponentially to a point where, people are really anticipating something to happen quickly, especially with 2020 just being so crazy. And, what's next? It's got to be something even worse, or whatever. But,
right.
I think it could go either way. It could be something presented as something like scary and, we've got to, protect ourselves from the aliens, or it could be presented like the peace givers that have come to save humanity type of thing. And I've seen that they've kind of laid out both things. They've even laid out situations for a rapture type event. If you investigate the channeled information, time and time again, they talk about a great cleansing that must take place. And these people that are caught up in the age of Pisces or the Christian belief system must be removed or liquidated in order for the rest of us to evolve to a higher consciousness. And there's a lot of people talking about this back in the whole 2012 thing, talking about the reason nothing happened is because we had all these crazy Christians that held back, us from evolving because they still believed in the age of Pisces. And we want to move on to the age of Aquarius. And, the age of Aquarius is the water bearer, is the symbol of somebody holding a bucket of water and dumping it. And so you go back to the whole ice bucket challenge and ritual.
Wow.
And then things that are going on right underneath our nose that we don't know about. There's one right there.
Wow.
It's same thing with, BLM and say their name, say their name, say their name. These people practice African witchcraft, the specifically the religion of Ifa, and they pour out libations before every gathering, before every meeting. They pour out libations and liquids in order for the spirits to drink that. They call on their names, and this brings forth the spirits to dwell within them. That's not me saying this. That's them admitting to this.
Yeah.
So when they say their names and you are participating in that, you're participating in a witchcraft ritual to raise these, because they believe in ancestor worship, and so they worship the dead, and so this is what they're doing.
It's funny you mentioned the Aquarius. When Trump, on his inauguration in 2016, when he was elected, when they introduced him at his inauguration ball with Melania, that was the song that they came out to. They walked out to the dawning of the age of Aquarius. You know, that old 60s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
I know that makes me like go a little, what's happening here?
Yeah, no, the people into the age of Aquarius, definitely it's an anti-Christian belief system, because the age of Pisces was the fish, was the fish god. And so the age of Aquarius is moving past that. And there's a lot of people that definitely think we're already into that. And, that's why they're removed religion so far.
Yeah.
It's been so removed,
Well, I guess they were, for everything that I've been seeing about that was that when we had the December 20th to the, I think to 27th, I believe it was, that whole where Saturn and the two stars came together, the two planets came together. Do you guys remember seeing all that?
Mm-hmm.
And it like happened on the winter solstice, and that was supposed to be the dawning of the new age, the great awakening, the golden age, or whatever you want to call it. And and it played into even some of this QAnon craziness stuff too, because they were talking about this new golden age happening, the great awakening coming forth.
Yeah. People don't realize that was all, a lot of new age theosophical overtones going on there, and calling Trump as this messianic type figure who's going to save us all. And, we should never put our hopes in any type of human, no matter how awesome they are being president. Who cares? Like, God is the one in control. God is the one with the plan, and God's the one writing the story. So,
that's right.
We've got to just give praise to God that He's the one in control. He's got a plan. And I think it's it's amazing that we're counted to live in this amazing time to see these things unfold. People were only talking about this years ago, and now we're actually seeing it and being able to discuss, what's going to happen next. And I mean, it's invigorating, I think, in a way, because it's just that God is in control, and more people are waking up as these things are being revealed. So
yeah, the sad part about that is, or the hard part about that is when you read the Bible, what comes with that. When you get to the end,
no doubt, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's not easy for the believer. They have to stand in truth and proclaim with boldness, and it's never received well. Which
there's going to be a remnant.
Yeah, exactly, man. Rosie, I thought you had something you were gonna say. Did you have something you wanted to ask him?
I can't remember now.
Sorry.
It's okay. I one thing I was gonna say, like this whole time, like thinking throughout the whole thing, and like all the different examples that we already talked about, like you touched on it with the aliens. Well, I guess first I'll say it like this: that the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, and like in many ways, like it's like I guess everything going on right now that's like happening currently, still in my mind is like, yeah, but like this all happened before. You know what I mean? Like I'm at the point now where like it's rare for me to find like a new conspiracy, like some new thing to geek out about. And I've been able to find a couple new ones. But like I was just thinking, like back in, I'm not sure, you might be familiar, Ark, with like I recently, I don't know, the last year or two, read a lot of like Jack Vallee's stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In regards to like the UFOs, and when you're talking just about like the hippie new age counterculture, like he has this one book that it was written like the late like 78 or like in the 80s, and it was based on like his research when he was going around in like I think the 70s, and he's going to all these like cults that they were all UFO cults, like where the leader was like directly there's a couple instances in Western Europe and the United States where they're like I was contacted by the Nordic or like the Gray or whatever, and yeah, it's like his whole thing is like literally every time, like it doesn't matter where it is, what kind of alien entity it is, it's always this new age thing, and it's always like Christianity's bad. And the kind of wrapping it up with like what I meant about there's nothing new under the sun. It's like, what happened right at the rise of all like these UFO cults and like the UFO kind of explosion was like psychedelic drugs, this whole stuff. And a lot of like the stuff that you would see in the 60s and 70s is like demonic. There's a presence, at least from it looks, like looking at videos of Woodstock and just seeing people acting so crazy, like they're not in control of their body. Anyway, so it's like now 50.
I saw that up close and personal at these Grateful Dead shows.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say, I got a bunch of friends that follow. Maybe conversation off air, but yeah, I know. I've heard from a lot of friends that went, hang out with the rainbow people and all that fun stuff. But it's just like, it's funny, right around like 2010, like 50 years, to like the rise, 50 years after the 60s, it's like all of a sudden, like, it's cool to be like this hippie again. And like, the resurgence of like, these heavy, like research chemicals and all the crazy, LSD makes a resurgence and ayahuasca and, people like Joe Rogan, like out there promoting it so much. And at the same time, all of a sudden, all these people are starting to like really take aliens as a thing seriously. And so I almost see this huge cycle, like a resurgence. And the biggest thing from what's different right now when I look at this versus like how the media handled UFOs, in the 80s or 90s or earlier up until 2010 is back in the day, like all these mainstream media sources always downplayed aliens. They're like, you're crazy people. You think UFOs are real? You're stupid. Like, blah, blah, blah. Listen to us. We're so smart. We have science, like believe, all this crazy stuff while they're doing their own crazy stuff. And now all of a sudden, like right around in the last, I don't know if it was 2012 or 2015, somewhere in between, like the whole milieu of everything. Now it's like, oh, you don't think aliens are real? You think like humans are the only people here? You idiot. Like, right. That's what like the Guardian's telling us is like, oh, so what? That's the biggest thing that hit me is like the culture is trying to come back, but like now all of a sudden something that's deeply entwined with those, like of not being alone is now it's directly like against it. That's the biggest thing. I just, it seems like this resurgence, except for the key difference of now it's like aliens are really cool. And that's something I just was thinking about while we were talking. You were bringing all that up. And I don't know. It's very odd to me.
I think that's all part of the plan. It's all part of like, going back and forth, of the carrot on the stick to nowhere. They're have these resurgence of different things, but it always kind of changes. If you look back in like the early turn of the centuries, people that were channeling these beings, or even in the 60s and 70s, they were still saying, "Oh, these beings are from Venus. Yeah, they live inside the moon." Or in the 30s, there's Hitler was channeling these entities that were giant Nordics that lived inside the hollow Earth. Yeah, and they all told the same story. Coincidentally, and all these groups are connected. And the one thing that made it change to aliens from faraway galaxies was this belief in evolution, because evolution told us that, where there's water, there's life, and there's all these planets out there from so far away, and, and there's got to be life if there's that many planets out there. But then we started realizing how far these planets are from each other. And now almost everybody, going back to Jacques Vallée and some of the specialists in UFO culture, almost every UFO specialist now believes this is interdimensional. Yeah, exactly. Not many people believe this is nut and bolts crafts anymore. Yeah. Because of the spaces between. There's just too far distances, and you would have to turn yourself into a proton to travel that fast to ever get here and back or do anything else. So it's either some sort of interdimensional or wormhole or spiritual travel, and more people lean more to the spiritual side because they see the connection throughout time of seances, Ouija boards, and the things that people are told with these beings, the ascended masters, all these different disguises and different costumes that they wear, they all kind of say this same storyline. And if you go back to the secret societies and mystery schools, it doesn't matter if it's, the Kabbalah or the Gnostics or the Jesuits or the Freemasons, or they all kind of believe, or the Luciferians, they all kind of believe in one way or another, we are God, we are the thing, within. And that's the common thing that's told through DMT experiences. So these people that are taking ayahuasca and DMT, they meet up with these serpent entities or gnomes or alien, electric elves, they call them.
Yeah, right.
As Terrence McKenna would call them. And, all these different people are kind of telling the exact same thing over and over and over again. You're a God, you're a God, you're a God, same lie of the serpent in the garden. And and then you got on top of that, like I said, back to C4's, the C4 research groups of hundreds of people now collected. It's thousands, actually. It's way more than hundreds. It's tens of thousands of people that say that they've done away with these things by rebuking them in the name and authority of Jesus. And my wife is one of those people that suffered from sleep paralysis. They recognized it, rebuked it, and it never returned. So I've got first stuff, and it's true. This is demonic, and people that see these shadow beings, it doesn't matter if they're aliens abducting them, which is just one of the disguises, or the Hat Man, or the shadow beings, or
the old hag.
The old hag.
The
There's
Mothman,
the incubus, succubus. Bigfoot. We're looking into a lot of costumes here. They've got quite a variety depending on your belief system and depending on what you're into. They're happy to conform. They'll be a Buddhist monk if they need to. They'll be your dead grandma. It doesn't matter. It just depends on what you're open to. They need your permission. They need that open doorway. And once you give them permission, they're in.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we actually interviewed Jim Jordan from, did I just mix that up?
Joe Jordan.
Joe Jordan.
Joseph Jordan.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
Yeah, and
Good friend of mine.
that's all. Yeah, he was awesome. I'm just to the point that what you were just making right there. Like, I remember I asked him on the thing, because this was one of those things I always read about, the experience thing, people being literally, so they said, abducted, mid-air, going out of their, being whisked up, and then they say, Jesus' name, let me go, and then all of a sudden, they I'm, saying quotations, quotation marks with air quotes, that then they're back in their room and everything's fine and it doesn't happen anymore. And I just wanted to reiterate to the listeners too, it may not have heard that yet. We asked Joe, like, has there ever been an instance of when someone was mid-abduction and they said, like, Buddha, save me from the aliens,
right.
Or,
Muhammad,
or, whatever like that. And he said there's never been an incident where someone called on a name other than Jesus and it ended it. So I just wanted to reiterate that, that's
right.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? And we've got the whole world, and people suffer from this in every culture. They suffer from the jinns, the incubus, succubus. They go by many names, and it doesn't work when you call them the name of Muhammad or Krishna or Buddha. There's not thousands of documented testimonies of people doing that, like there are with Jesus. And the other thing is the people that suffer from sleep paralysis, what the most common thread of people that the open doorway, they've opened some sort of doorway to have this happen. Yeah. Almost 80 to 90% of people have messed with the occult, the Ouija board, their family has experienced in some sort of occult, secret society, witchcraft. Something has been a doorway to open that up. It doesn't always happen just randomly. There's usually an invitation.
And I was going to say, that's just to continue that thought, that's why we're seeing these like literal mass rituals of people like at a Black Lives Matter rally, or this sounds really stupid, but the fact that, you know, Sabrina, that new version on Netflix of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where they were using like literal real witch spells in the show, and they were doing rituals so that it was getting the participant, you know, they were initiating, the person that's watching it is going through the initiation ritual because they were using real ones.
Yeah.
So people are, you know, I think
cartoons.
And like
you see it at halftime shows and Olympic opening ceremonies. Like, I mean, it's literally mass rituals. Yeah. And even some people are saying, like, you know, some of this COVID stuff with the masks, there's like some, they're talking about, you know, the whole idea that there's some kind of, you know, I don't want to say initiated, but it's some kind of a ritual with the mask.
Yeah, 6 feet apart, wearing a mask. It's like part of some sort of Freemasonic ritual or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much that's just coincidence, but who knows?
It is hard. Once you start to look at these things, it's hard to not, like, you start to notice them more and more. You know, I remember when, you know, I've shared the story before with Rosie, when I watched the Joker, the new Joker movie that came out. There was an incomplete ritual he did in there after he murdered his first victim, you know, and complete with a black and white tile floor and a mirror. And he became a different person after that situation, that dance he did in this bathroom, you know, when he ran after he murdered. And during the middle of it, it like dawned on me. I'm like, this is not just some artistic thing that's happening. This is actually some kind of ritual that's happening. And and then you start to pay a little bit more attention. And this is kind of why I love your music so much, because when you have a conversation with somebody who's not aware of these things, they're completely oblivious. You know, if you're a normal person and you listen to Joe Rogan on his podcast and he talks about DMT all the time and how great it is, and he's literally promoting that drug, opening a door. He's telling people to open a doorway into the spirit realm yourself, just like I have, you know. He's being used by the enemy. People don't pick up on that mostly. They just say, oh, it's just a drug. It's crazy. He's a trip. He's kind of a partier guy or whatever, you know. And so you have all these people that are completely asleep within the church. And that's the frustrating part. You want to just shake them and be like, look at what's happening. Please read your Bible and understand this. I remember Dr. Heiser had a huge impact on me. And and you know, his book The Unseen Realm, and I remember speaking about Nephilim with my friends, with believers, you know, and they just they didn't get it, they didn't believe it, even though there's evidence of, like, literally one of the best known stories in the Bible is David and Goliath, right? Goliath, a Nephilim, right? Yeah. And so they're, you know, you talk to them and you just want to shake them because they're just. And that's why I love your music. You're literally pinpointing these things in your lyrics, and if you pay attention to your lyrics, it's so encouraging for me, because I'm like, oh, he nailed that. That was so cool how he did that.
Well, that's my goal. Is, like, you know, that's what I found is when I was discovering these things, I was the same way. I became passionate, you know, on fire. How do I tell people? How do I get this information out? Because this is unbelievable. All these connections, you know, all these pieces of the puzzle that fit together. It's like, I need to tell people. And every time I try to talk to somebody, there's such a foundation you've got to lay to get to the point of letting them fit all these pieces of the puzzle together. It's just like, and they just get lost before you get there. You know, you have to have a personal passion to investigate these things, you know? And so I thought, you know, and that's why I thought, man, someone won't even listen to me for 30 seconds trying to talk to them about the Nephilim. Maybe if I do a song, they'll listen to a 3-minute song and I'm actually talking about the whole time, and they're getting all this information. And over time, if they listen to all the music, they'll be putting all these kind of pieces of the puzzle together, and it'll actually influence them or inspire them to dig deeper, you know. And that's my hope, is I can be a link in the chain, you know, plant seeds like the sower, and that people will then, you know, wow, I want to know more about this kind of stuff, and then go out there too, like the Michael Heisers, the Joe Jordans, the Chuck Missers, all these people who are really the true researchers, and ultimately have a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You know, but so many people that we have these common interests, aliens, you know, DMT, the spirit realm, the paranormal. We have these interests with Joe Rogan type of people.
Yeah.
And that's, I love listening to Joe Jordan because like being a fly on the wall to the heartbeat of America, because he's one of the most influential people to our society.
Yeah.
And I would love to get on a show like that, and there would be ultimate to do something like that, because I'm more doing this to wake people up than to just, you know, make Christians bob their head.
Yeah.
You know, I want people to actually be woken up and be inspired to investigate these things themselves. Not that they're going to believe me, but that God would touch their heart and inspire them to investigate more for themselves. You know, it's all in God's timing. And I've had many people get in touch with me whose lives have been changed just in that way, that they've listened to a song at just the right time, or somebody shared something with them or whatever, and it spoke to them, and they turned their whole belief system around. So I just praise God every day that he's just, you know, he's blessed us with the ability to do this and make this music. So
Yeah.
awesome.
And I want to say, I grew up, but I didn't really get to talk about this earlier, but yeah, hip hop was one of the first things, as a white boy from the suburbs, you know, that's what you listen to is rap. And at least in the 90s, you know, I was born in 90, so in 98, you know, I was a little too young. You know, Tupac and Biggie were already dead by the time I got into, you know, that, but I was right on the cusp of it. And I've been like, you know, a hip hop head ever since, and listened to a lot of underground stuff. And I remember when Turner sent me it, like my initial thing was, because I've seen guys on like YouTube that are like conspiracy, you know, like I'm the red pill, you know, rapper or something like that. And I listened to it and I'm like, okay, either like they got no flow, the beat's kind of sick, but it's like, I don't really want to. I listen to it because it's like, oh, this is like my people, and I'll give them a like so that someone else can see it on YouTube. And then all of a sudden I was, you know, Turner sent me the stuff, and I started listening to you, and I was like, that's why I said, how did you find this? Because I was like, this is amazing. So I just want to also, from like an aesthetic, you know, from a hip hop head, like that you do all this stuff at the same time of it, like, you know, not sounding, I've listened to, you know, the underground Christian hip hop it's okay, but you know, it always seems like it's lacking in one of, you know, a couple areas. And just wanted to say, like, you guys kill it. The production is insane. You have insane flow, and the lyrics are just so great. So if you like it, this is really like the whole package. Like, listen to the songs, you will be blown away. Even if I love everything. So I just wanted to also say, you're doing all that stuff, but it's actually really good. So like, it's not corny. Like, trust me, it's like really good.
Well, no, I know what you mean, for sure. I mean, that's one of the other reasons we wanted to do it. Is because, like, man, I was a fan of Christian rap, and nobody's really talking about this stuff, or else it was just totally corny, nutty. You know? And so I was like, man, somebody's got to raise the bar here a little bit, at least, even if they don't appreciate the subject matter. You know, that's always been my. You know, I think people see Christians as this one way, or unbelievers see Christians as these nerdy, stupid people that can't do that. And I've always tried to, you know, shatter those misconceptions. You know, and one of my things is, you know, being a creature designer, I still do that. You know, I make and design creatures and monsters and aliens, and it's an incredible. I see it as almost a second ministry, because I go to these conventions, and that's the main thing I bring up to people is like, you know, because everything I design is an original design, and I say get all my inspiration through the creation and through God the creator, the greatest creature designer there is, you know, because if you look at all the things that God designs, you know, whether it's insects, you know, dinosaurs, or deep sea creatures. I mean, there's some creepy looking things. So obviously God's into creepy looking things, and that's not a sin. Be into creepy looking scary stuff. And I think we give Satan too much power and influence over a lot of things, and we don't realize that God has a bigger mind. Satan doesn't create anything. Satan's never made anything. All Satan does is imitate and invert and to counterfeit the things of God.
That's right.
And, so I like to blow the lid off these misconceptions that people have about this.
Now, you, I remember I was listening to you on an interview, another podcast, I think it was, and you had mentioned that you made these, they were like basically taxidermied alien heads. Like,
yeah.
Do you still have
those?
those?
They're like full-size trophy heads. Yeah. Well, actually, I had my house burned down in like 2008, so I lost all the molds. But I had a back room where I had like kind of a gallery section, so I still have one of each of my heads. But I never remade the molds of them. But I still work full-time building statues, painting statues, and customizing statues for collectors. That's what I do full-time for a living.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, because I was going to say I'd love to try and figure out how to get one of those alien heads. I'd love to have like one taxidermied on my wall in my office.
Well, I did remake my alien gray taxidermy head, so I do have an alien gray taxidermy head. If you want to check that out, I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what's next for you guys? Like, I know you sent me some files and had some new stuff on there that I hadn't heard yet. Do you have something coming out here in 2021, or are you working on stuff? What's the plan?
Yeah, I am working on new music. We're always working on new music. So don't necessarily have a new album coming out in 2021. We just came out with this one in October of 2020, our brand new album, Shift Your Paradigm. So we're still kind of promoting that, getting that out, and make sure people know that it's even out there. We're such a niche genre. We got to kind of make the rounds to all the niche fringe Christian shows and podcasts like you guys. So it's a real blessing to always kind of to talk with all the different people that are researchers and into these same things. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, and we'll probably come out with a lot more videos. We've got several more videos in the works.
Sweet.
And making new music, bunch of new interviews, and we're working out some interviews that may really give us some exposure to that we've never gotten before. So be praying for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That works out.
Yeah, I'm gonna pray you get on Joe Rogan. That would be awesome.
It's close, man. It's somebody who has been on Joe Rogan. So
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool.
I would love to. Here's the thing too: is that there's like
name just popped in my head. I'll ask you off air. But
yeah, there's when you were talking about the alien stuff, the interdimensional part of it. Like, I used to never hear that. The only people who were talking about that were Christians. And now I hear it even in guys that wouldn't even claim to be Christian. They're spiritual or whatever they are, but they're not believers. They don't have a saving faith, in my opinion. And so by their own admission, but they're agreeing with an interdimensional spiritual aspect for the aliens. And so that is like a great open door for you with, your music and everything. No, so maybe maybe there's something there for you, man. We're going to pray for that, man. I love your stuff. I'm a fan, and just to be able to say that I had you on our podcast is going to be good it's going to be great for me. And here's the best part, Ark, is that I am like for what it's worth, I'm 50 and white as can be. So, when I'm in the car with my wife,
I'm 49.
Oh, sweet. All right. Yes. See, so for me to be able to impress Rosie and to give him your music and him be like, "Oh, this is great. Where'd you find this?" That for me was a win right there. So you helped me in a big way that way.
Sweet. Yeah. No, you're never too old to rap, right? So it's like you look at all these guys like Snoop Dogg and Eminem. They're getting just as old, so they're still rapping. So I figure, hey. And all the rockers, they're still like 70, 80 years old, still rocking it. So heck, why not? And especially with people just recognizing this stuff more and more. A lot of these subjects are becoming more externalized, so we're just praising God, that all in His timing, that He's allowed it to happen. And but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who did not believe these things were interdimensional, who now do believe it. Not only the alien thing, there's a lot of unbelievers that believe in giants. There's a lot of unbelievers that believe in, even demons. And, but if you look at this, there's the truther movement, basically, kind of the anonymous group. And you find they kind of lie themselves with the David Icke types and Michael Tsarian and Jordan Maxwell, like all these people that expose the Illuminati, expose the conspiracies, they're exposing all these real true things. But when you get to the end of it and you're like, what's the answer? What do we do?
Right.
To fight it all. And they're like, stronger magic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, that's literally what you get to the end result. They're literally, you realize they're literally want stronger magic. Like force. We need to use white magic against their black magic.
Exactly.
I mean, there's people, I've seen the videos where there's people that go to Bohemian Grove, not to protest Bohemian Grove, but to protest they're not allowed in, to worship next to Molech. Let us in. Why did this in? Let us in too. It's not.
Yeah, it really is crazy. Yeah, I was just thinking there's like the biggest thing is hearing someone, I don't think it's any of the three that you mentioned, but at the same time, even just like the openness I've heard, like, I don't think that, I don't call myself a researcher or truth or whatever. I don't know what I am. I'm a Christian that reads a lot of weird stuff. But it's like crazy when you hear someone and they'll openly, not even just like the good magic, when people like, there's a division amongst people like just about Aleister Crowley. Like you'll hear people making the case for him, and you're like, I don't know how you can understand that at all. And they're like, oh, he was a gentleman's spy, or it's all propaganda.
There's no foundation to witchcraft. They're all just making it up as they go along. They can't agree on anything. The same as the secret society. That's the one thing with the Bible. We've got one solid foundation.
That's right.
Exactly.
It's unchanging. It's never going to move. That's what's so great. And it's been proven again and again and again. Every generation tests it and tries it, and then finds out that it's gonna. It's like what was that phrase about the hammer? It's like the largest hammer that tries to break the Bible only ends up breaking itself. As they try and come against it. But so that's what we have, and I think it's really. For me, the reality of a lot of everything we're talking about can be really frightening. Rosie and I have had some pretty weird spiritual experiences just in the course of the couple years doing this podcast. I think just exposing that stuff sometimes opens you up for attack, and
for sure
it is real. It's very real, but I would much rather be in the middle of the real battle, the real fight, than have a veil over my eyes and think that I'm in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's what's sad. There's always people that have all this hate for Satan, but no love for God. It's like, how does that work? You guys are out there trying to expose all these satanic pedophiles, but you have no even interest in the Bible or God or Jesus, the things that can conquer and destroy these things. It's like, why do you even believe in Satan? I mean, it's like, what do you... They're so convinced because they see the satanic stuff. They know it's real because they've either experienced something supernatural or seen something supernatural, and they see these elite interests. They know it's real, but they're not willing to take the next step and investigate the Bible,
right?
So they can actually, fight these things. But that's what I implore people, man. Don't buy into the nonsense of whatever preconceived notions you think the Bible and Christianity are, because there are a lot of disinformation, big religion, basically, all these mega churches and all these things that give false influence or a false interpretation of what really real Christianity is. They see the Catholic Church. I was raised Catholic Church. I went to Catholic school. I know what the Bible's about. I don't want to have anything to do with Christianity. It's like, no, you're missing the point. That's part of the deception. So I just really implore people to investigate it. And that going back as well to these things, as unbelievers are realizing these same things. The other thing that we see is how they muddy the waters. So as the idea of giants becomes more mainstream and more people know about it, now all of a sudden giants are like entire mountainsides and mud fossils.
I've seen that.
Complete lies and disinformation and rabbit trails to nowhere. And that's all part of the satanic plan. I mean, look at how much they put disinformation. Same with the flat earth. Sorry if your people are into flat earth, but same with the mud fossils, all that kind of stuff. I believe this is part of the disinformation to lead people down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And to muddy the waters of truth. Because say somebody's like, oh, Nephilim, what is that? I'm interested. Let me look that up. They look it up and it goes straight to like giants were 30 foot tall or mountainside. This whole mountainside is a dead giant, isn't it? It's like, that's what these people believe. Okay, I'm out of here. And then at the end of it, and so that's their goal, is to put all this disinformation, attach it to real true things. And so people that are new to researching it, don't go any further because they just think it's all crazy,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the talk about the giant, like the mountain giant? Have you seen the giant trees where they look at the plateaus and they say it's the base of a tree?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Devil's Towers, petrified tree. I mean,
yeah.
People. Same with the dinosaurs don't exist movement.
Yeah.
That was literally started by a group of atheists. It's been proven now. That was started by a group of atheists that were trolling people. People fell for it. Like, Christians, wake up.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The internet is like the greatest weapon, but it's also the greatest weakness in all of this, because the information confirmation is very difficult, and a lot of people they'll look at a meme and they won't even check to see if it's true, and they just buy it. Yeah, and they just repost it, and then that's their truth. Like that's their truth becomes a meme, and it's just sad when you start to really unpack some of these things. There's so much more to them, but I think that's a great point. Is we have to protect the truth, at all costs, and if these things that we believe in don't line up with Scripture, then we need to be able to adjust what we're believing to fit more under the banner of Scripture because of that. But yeah, that's my hardest part though is the ones that, like, when you talk about Nephilim, they're the old school, and they're like, no, it's the sons of Seth and the sons of Cain, and they have that whole mindset, and they just don't want to believe that it could possibly be, angels came down, fallen angels, actually had sexual relations with humans to create a weird hybrid breed of giants. They just have a hard time with that,
I will say one thing.
Well,
go
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, I've recently come around to the dinosaurs don't exist, unironically. And it's only because I know when it's like, I just keep seeing like that, like the graph or the IQ graph with the meme where it's like the, person with the 60 IQ, and it's like the quote, everything in the Bible is literally true. And then like 100 at the peak, and it's like, oh, there's, whatever. And then like high IQ 160 is like everything in the Bible is true. And I've just adopted the dinosaurs don't exist. And it's like, yeah, if it's not literally in the Bible, just to like piss off leftists, because if they're going to call me like all this, crazy stuff anyway, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't see the word dinosaur in the Bible. It doesn't exist. You know what? Like, whatever, man. Does it make you mad? I don't believe in science either.
You got Leviathan and Behemoth. They talk about.
They were dragons.
Yeah.
No, it was an alligator, man, and a rhinoceros. All right, you know what? Don't step to me.
A unicorn's in the Bible, though, in the King James version.
I've got a song called "Remembered as Dragons," and it is all about the Book of Job and the Behemoth and Leviathan. So check that out.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Dang,
awesome.
I don't appreciate you talking me out of my joke stance now that I have.
Man, well, this has been awesome,
Yeah.
Mark. I really appreciate you spending time with us tonight and sharing, just your perspective on things. And now even more, I'm a fan. Like I knew before I was, but now just talking to you and hearing your heart on things, it's so great. I think you have a really special ministry. I don't know if you look at it as a ministry, but I do believe it's from the Lord. And I'm just, I'm just so thankful that you are doing what you're doing. And I, it blesses me. So selfishly, I can say keep going, but for the sake of the gospel, please keep going, man. And I'll just, I hope to see you continue to grow and influence. And when you get big, like really big, and you're on Rogan, just throw out a like, hey, All Out War had me on their podcast once. You can just say that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, cool.
And if we ever go on Rogan, we'll be sure to Turner, you're so selfish.
Yeah,
He's only thinking about himself.
Yeah, I'll scratch your back. Like if I'm out, hey man, have you check out Ark, man? Listen to Destiny Lab. These guys are amazing. That's what I'll do. So
Yeah. Well, one step at a time, right? All in God's timing. And, you look at how God works. He loves to reach down and use the people you would least expect. So
yeah,
you never know what's going to.
That's so true, man. That's so true. Man, well, thanks so much for joining us on this episode, and all of our listeners, if you're listening right now, if you're still on, hang in there. We've got another song here on the back end of this that you're going to really love, and we want to encourage you to go check out all of Destiny Lab's stuff. Go to their website. You can click on their links through our show notes here, but check out their music. They're available on Spotify and many different streaming locations. So check out their music, share them with your friends, and give them a listen. You will not regret it. So, well, Ark, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's been a blessing. And if you guys ever need to fill a spot, give me a holler.
Heck
Let's
yeah.
come on, chat again.
Yeah,
That'd
man.
be awesome.
You definitely have an open door here anytime. So,
And if you ever
Great,
need
great.
if you ever need someone to like say something in a sample so that you can sample, I'll say something crazy like, "Yo, dinosaurs are stupid," and then you can like drop that. Hit me up, and I'll say anything. I got your back, man. I'll say whatever you want.
Okay, guys.
All right.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
thanks, brother.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon, man.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Dawkins told the crowd they should ridicule religious people. Let me quote him. He says, "Mock them, ridicule them in public. Their beliefs are insane, therefore they should be ridiculed with contempt."
Years in the future, this may serve as a reminder, like a verbal time capsule. Honor your treasure, meant for the minds that denied in the past, ignoring the signs every time that we ask you to listen. You dismissed us consistently, and now you're living out prophecy. First and witness to the times and the miseries. No denying all the signs and conspiracies. We poured our hearts out and urged you to listen, implored you to think, to make the right decision. Laughing aside, you just played the devil's advocate. Every time you heard the truth, you turned the opposite. Rejected anything that stood against your politics. Convinced yourself that you were good by thinking positive. Always the optimist, are you still confident that ignorance is bliss during the apocalypse? Smack dab in the middle of the storyline, slap in your face, shift in your paradigm, switching your mind for the memories you blocked out. Information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible. Every day triggers for memories, reminders. Remaining remnants remembered by survivors. Pieced together from the fragments of a quagmire. Lost souls gathered hungry around a campfire. Brought together through the common recollections. Torn apart by the warnings that they questioned. Looking back, they knew this day was unavoidable. They hated God, embracing sin whenever possible. Gave control to everything they knew was evil. Sold their souls and now they're living like medieval. A whole world without laws or morality. Living in poverty and running from reality. I tatted a picture of missed opportunities. All the what ifs and lost possibilities. Cities burn like a giant crematorium. Mountaintops collapse like an accordion. Wars are rumbling, governments crumbling. Storm clouds gather around, hear the thundering. Smack dab in the middle of the storyline, slap in your face, shift in your paradigm, switching your mind for the memories you blocked out. Information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible. Anarchy reigns in the streets, in the alleyways. No escape from the pain in the end of days. Left alone with no internet or telephone. Cities and graveyards crumbling catacombs. Apocalyptic wickedness and pestilence. Epidemics and afflictions, malevolence. No protection, no government or military. Just infections and really full cemeteries. Catastrophes on another level biblical. Miserable when the locust swarm is visible. Turn and run from the state, you knew the outcome. Acting dumb and ignorant and asking how come. A social justice warrior with your politics. Emotional, convince yourself with willing ignorance. Way too late, no excuse could ever save face. And now you're living in a world without a safe space. Smack dab in the middle of the storyline. Slap in your face, shift in your paradigm. Switching your mind for the memories you blocked out. The information that you knew was true but locked out. Conversations that you wish could be repeated. Warning calls that you wish you would have heeded. Thought all those Christians were living in denial, but now you do anything to understand the Bible.
What if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. What if you're wrong about the great juju at the bottom of the sea?